outside of the first quarter, the defense dominated that game as we expected them throughout the whole game. And it goes back to, I think Colorado just had a really good game plan and a really good script for their first 2 or 3 possessions, and BYU was just caught off guard. As soon as Jay Hill found the adjustment, which I think putting a spy on Salter was part of that, they dominated that game. Hello and welcome to the Aptive Podcast Studio. This is the Loyal Cougars podcast covering all things BYU football and basketball. Tosh, happy Monday.
Heck of a weekend.
What a weekend.
Oh, yeah.
BYU 4-0 now, and I think it's probably somewhat expected that BYU was going to go 4-0. I think we looked early, preseason at the schedule, and we thought this was probably going to be the toughest test, would be against Colorado. I think we thought at ECU would be maybe a little bit of a test, but I think early on we said this is going to be a perfect kind of runway for Bear Bachmeier to learn this offense, for the offense to gel, for them to kind of figure out their identity. And I think through 4 games, they are there. Like they've, and again, they're going to take a step back in terms of quality of opponent in West Virginia. West Virginia is terrible. We'll talk about them later on. But this is the perfect stretch, and I think they have found their identity.
Absolutely. There's something to be said that winning football games, it's never a given. It's hard. These teams are trying their best, and they got good athletes. And we saw that against Colorado. But I love that BYU figured out a way, and that ultimately we're 4-0, and that we've got a real good path to be 5-0, and then it'll be Arizona, Utah. The season is going really, really well. We were a team that Vegas only predicted to win 6.5 games. Yeah. And we've won 4. And we've lost 0. So we really should be grateful as BYU fans right now.
Yeah, they haven't looked perfect, but the schedule and the outcome so far is a perfect 4-0. I should say the show is presented by True Wear Services. The Cougar Board merch store drop is today, and we've got some of the stuff. So
really good stuff.
Really cool stuff. I mean, I'm a huge fan of black, right? So black. I have a black car. I think black looks sleek and stealthy, and so I'm a huge fan of black. So we've got the Monarch BYU polo. For those that are watching on YouTube, comes in multiple logos, but it's just a solid black color. I'm wearing just the kind of the traditional BYU logo.
We got the corduroy hat is legit, really nice high-end looking hat. Yep. With the cool, I would say alternate kind of swaggered sailor logo on there. Yep. Really cool hat. Yep.
True Wear fade corduroy hat, and then we've got a golf kit. So this comes with a mallet head cover, a driver cover, and then it also comes with this, and you might not be able to see it on the camera, but this kind of unique ball marker with, it's not completely solid. It's got some holes in it. It looks really cool. So anyway, that's all part of the Cougar Board store merch drop. Head on over there and pick up your items. Okay, so talking about the Colorado game, obviously the first quarter, I think people were ready to turn it off. I remember thinking I'm not even going to last till halftime of this game, the way it is going. And I guess what was your initial reaction to this first quarter of the game? My initial reaction was this defense may not be as good as we thought it was.
Yeah, agreed. I was shocked, and because they were running at us at will. And really, they were just doing 2 things. One is they were running off tackle to the left, and they did it over and over and over again. And then the quarterback on pass plays would just wait for BYU's to commit into their stunts and then find the gap and run. And those are the 2 plays that they drove on us just at will. And I thought, we are in for a long, long game if we can't figure out a way to stop the run.
Yeah. I think it was Isaiah Glasgow after the game said they came out with looks that they had not prepared for. And, obviously with the way BYU beat them in the bowl game last year, now a lot of that team was gone. Obviously there's no Shador, there's no Travis Hunter. Their 2 best players, but Dion obviously had this game circled probably from week 1.
Correct. He was playing it down to the media, but then it came out in the game that he was chanting and saying to them, "Remember the Alamo." And he cared way more about this being we got to come and show them who we are game than he was leading on.
Yeah. So what I actually thought, especially after the offense kind of tapered off, was Colorado came in with a script, and most teams do. I think every team comes into a game with an initial script, at least for the first possession or 2. The script worked to perfection, and it obviously gave BYU looks that they had not game planned for. And I think part of that too was was just the ability for Colorado to run this kind of RPO. They were 3 for 3. They only threw 3 passes in the first quarter, and we'll talk about their passing game in just a second. But they ran the ball really well, right? 13 carries. They averaged 7.6 yards per carry.
And they were getting big holes
in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And it was like their first 2 drives, they were just gashing BYU. And I think the turning point of the game obviously came in the second quarter when BYU started putting a spy.
Yeah.
And this, I don't know why they didn't do this at the beginning. I don't know if they thought Kaidon Salter just wasn't a good runner.
I just don't think that they thought they needed to commit to that level, but he showed them in the first quarter they did.
Yeah. By the way, I also think that Colorado got away with some pretty blatant holding non-penalty calls. The first being the very first play of the game, and then the second one being on their touchdown run where Kaidon Salter's running around the backfield. There was a pretty blatant hold on Glasker. Salter gets free, runs into the end zone. That was their first touchdown of the game. I think that helped them a lot, but again, the turning point was the sack by Satuala at the beginning of the second quarter, and the sack the sack in the same drive by Jack Kelly to put them out of field goal range. I mean, that for all intents and purposes, that was kind of the turning point of the game where the defense figured out, okay, we're gonna put a spy on Salter. We're not gonna let him throw the ball because he's not really a great thrower anyway. I think he was only completing his passes because BYU had to commit to this RPO run game, and so they said we're gonna shut down the run by putting a spy on Salter, covering our bases with this RPO strategy. And it worked. Those 2 sacks were really, to me, the turning point for this defense. And then Bear Bachmeier, man, just continues to impress. And coming into the season, I think we were all kind of hesitant. We had all heard the great things about Bear being smart and being a great decision maker, but not necessarily having this chemistry with his teammates. He's growing, man, and he seems to be thriving in these kind of adversarial situations where it's an away crowd. It's pretty raucous. It's somewhat of a hostile environment. He's thriving in it.
Oh, he won me over. I was already confident in Bear, but he took a whole nother step this last game where, again, I came in and said to you before the show, Bear showed me that he has the it factor. That we were down 14-0. He had, people dropping balls. He had the whole place just going wild, them thinking that they're going to blow the tops off of us. And I'm thinking, we have a true freshman quarterback we're trotting out there. This is a big moment. He has legitimate pressure to make a play. We have to score or else we're going to lose. But even in the midst of that, he was the opposite of deer in the headlights. He looked poised. He was ready. He was just focused on maximizing each play. He never forced anything. And he led us. And I even had my doubts where there was times where I told my son, we need to break a big play because can we really rely on Bear making 10 or more small plays all the way down the field? I was a doubter, and then he did it.
He did.
We made 10 small plays all the way down the field to score, and it's like, this guy is the real deal.
And they weren't, Bear had moments where he was, got 4 or 5 kind of yards and honestly, LJ Martin was a big part of this too. Their run game got enough done every play to keep the defense off the field, right? But I think that Bear's biggest moments, there were 2 plays, right? I think it was a design draw on 3rd and long, probably 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13. Bear got 10 yards, 11 yards off of a play that he should not have gotten any, right? He got stuffed at the line and scrambled around, and I think there were like 4 guys around him by the time he's 6 yards downfield, and he just lowers his shoulder. And now, granted, we don't want that from Bear every play, and we talked about this. Like Bear is a big guy. Like I think he's pretty injury resistant. Now I have to knock on wood, but that doesn't reduce the fact that he's exposing his head, right? And I think you worry the most about concussions, even with a big guy, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean his head is any more protected, even though he has, massive legs and arms and can bowl guys over. His head is still exposed. So, for him to lower his head like that, it was kind of this you're kind of cringing moment, but also he had to do it. It was a moment where he had to do it to get BYU in a position where they could go for it on fourth down. The other play was when Bear was scrambling. I think he was back to pass and scrambling under pressure, and again found a way to elude pressure and get yards. I think it was second quarter or whatever. Towards I think they were in the red zone, and found a way to elude pressure, get yards. And it shows the ability for Bear to see pressure and not panic, right? We saw Kaidon Salter panic multiple times in that game. Does that mean Kaidon Salter is not a good running quarterback? No, we saw how great of a running quarterback he is. But it goes back to what I said last week, which is I don't think Colorado had the guys that had the kind of IQ, and I don't know if IQ is the right word. I'm not saying they're dumb. I'm just saying the kind of wherewithal to take a play live, real time as it's going, and make the right decision mid-play. Barry Bachmeier is a freshman, right? Kaidon Salter ran backwards for 27-plus yards or whatever on a sack by was it Glasgow or Kelly?
It was Glasgow.
Shadur Sanders did the exact same thing last year. Like, a smart quarterback doesn't do that. And especially a guy like Kaidon Salter who's out of the pocket should not be doing that, right? And just to compare Bear to Kaidon Salter, like Bear did not make those types of bad decisions. And it again goes back to Bear is a smart quarterback. And I think we know that by now. He is a clutch, makes the right decision, smart quarterback. Can he work on his accuracy? Probably. Can he throw the ball a little bit harder? Maybe. I think sometimes he throws the ball maybe too hard, right? In some cases. But in general, he's making the smart play, and that's why he has 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
Yeah, no, I love it. And that how many times did he get those 4 or 5 yards with his legs, or there was multiple times, it was third and long, that he got just enough that we could go forward on fourth. Like, man, loved me some Bear that game. And the other shout-out I'd give is, as a fan base, we're very high on Jay Hill, and we're very hard on A-Rod.
Yes.
But A-Rod coached a heck of a game.
Yeah.
That, again, in that same situation, back against the wall, they know you have to be a little bit one-dimensional because you got to put up points. He still kept us fair enough run pass, put his freshman quarterback in a position to make plays. And a lot, like, we had guys getting open. Like that Chase Roberts play, it was a heck of a route run by Chase Roberts to get wide open for the touchdown, but also heck of a play call. And I could pick out multiple plays where A-Rod coached a heck of a game.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the tornado play in just a second, but let's kind of break this down by quarter too, because I think that BYU fans are looking at the first quarter and they're thinking like that was a disaster of a quarter. And defensively it was, but if you look at the offense, they actually averaged 6.1 yards per play in the first quarter. They just couldn't finish drives, right? They had that pass dropped by Chase Roberts. And Roberts, how many drop passes has Roberts had this season? I still think he's BYU's best receiver, right? Correct. He's probably one of the best receivers in the conference, but he cannot be dropping passes like that. And so that was a drive
He kind
killer.
of this year has been making the really hard catches and dropping some of the easy ones.
That play literally came, I think, on the same drive.
When he made that like impossible catch with one hand, it went through the guy.
After he was interfered with.
Correct.
And then he made a play later in that game where it was almost intercepted. It went through like the defender's fingertips and Chase still ended up with it 2 inches behind him. So Chase is capable of making these plays. Like he's a great route runner, as we've seen. He's dropping passes, and so that was a drive killer. And then Bears in the first quarter, Bears kind of scramble. We talked about how good Bear is as a runner and making plays happen. I thought this was one of those plays where he could have cut left or at least tried to fall forward for 3 yards, and instead he was trying to he tried to kind of dance behind his lineman and ended up getting caught for no gain, and that led to, I think, the field goal, their first field goal of the game. But that said, again, I think the offense as a whole, they were averaging 6.1 yards in the first quarter, 6.9 in the second quarter, 6.2 in the third. And then both offenses really struggled in the fourth. BYU had 4.8 yards per play in the fourth. So I think in terms of consistency, the offense played a pretty complete game minus the fourth quarter. They just couldn't finish drives in the first, but they scored a touchdown in the second, a touchdown in the third, and a touchdown in the fourth. It was really the defense, right? They allowed 138 yards in the first quarter. Second quarter, they allowed 50. By the way, Colorado only ran 17 plays in the second quarter, and then 9 in the third.
Yeah.
Nine plays in the third quarter. That's how you stop an offense, right? You don't let them run plays. Get them in 3-and-out situations. Keep your offense on the field. Yep. And that third quarter was huge. They averaged they had 84 yards in the third quarter, 19 yards in the fourth. So outside of the first quarter, the defense dominated that game as we expected them throughout the whole game. And it goes back to, I think Colorado just had a really good game plan and a really good script for their first 2 or 3 possessions, and BYU was just caught off guard. As soon as Jay Hill found the adjustment, which I think putting a spy on Salter was part of that, they dominated that game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Though, and our defense has playmakers. I think we had to adjust to what they had, some strengths we weren't aware of, and we took those away. And that's part of this chess match. And heck of play, like by our linebackers are the best linebacker duo that BYU's probably ever had.
Sure.
Like I can't think of a better linebacker duo than what we have right now.
So that kind of brings us then to a post that was on Cougar Board. Kind of an off-the-wall post, but Swing Cat posted on Cougar Board. He said, "We need a nickname for our dual linebackers. They completely take over." Some of the suggestions were okay. Monty Burns posted Love and Thunder. Reno Coug posted, "How about the takeover?" in quotations. And then Monty Burns posted again, Dez and Troy. Anyway, Sons of Thunder was Colonel Sanders posted Sons of Thunder. Shake and Bake from Peterbilt. So a couple of good suggestions. I actually I went to ChatGPT for this, Tosh.
Let's hear it.
Thunder and Lightning did show up, and so that was obviously confirmation that maybe we should go with Thunder and Lightning. I think that's too generic and probably used too much. There were the Enforcers, but I feel like we've seen that before. These are my 2 favorite. Cougar Crushers. Maybe that can be a negative connotation. Cougar Crushers. Provo Punishers was my favorite. The Provo Punishers.
I like it. So I grew up a child of the 80s, had a huge Bash Brothers poster in my room. And that to me, the BYU Bash Brothers. Like I think you throw BYU in front of there, you get the 3 Bs. And they just look like Bash Brothers to me, with the cowboy collar and the roll and the neck roll. And they're freaking fast and tough, and they make it real hard on teams.
Hey Cougar fans, the Cougar Clubhouse Collection is here, brought to you by Cougar Board and TrueWear. This drop mixes retro style with modern performance, the sleek Black Monarch polo, the vintage fade corduroy hat, and a premium golf set with leather driver and putter covers, plus a custom wide ball marker. It's the perfect lineup for alumni golf lovers and fans who carry Cougar pride everywhere they go. But here's the catch. Inventory is limited and kickoff is coming fast. Order today at store.cougarboard.com and lock in your Cougar Clubhouse gear before it's gone. This season, bring the same passion you have for Cougar football to your plate. At R&R Barbecue, we're all about bold flavor, big portions, and barbecue done right. Tosh, we got R&R Catering.
Yeah.
Our show today.
I've had their ribs before. I've had their brisket. This is a turkey sandwich that's incredible. It's one of the best turkey sandwiches I've had. This is legit good.
You know you've made it when R&R decides to give you food for free.
I'm here for it.
To eat and to talk about on their show. From brisket and pulled pork to wings and ribs, every bite is crafted for fans who play hard and cheer harder. R&R Barbecue, proud to fuel Cougar Nation on and off the field. Let's talk about the tornado reverse, because we've seen it twice now, right? And BYU's 2 for 2, 2 touchdowns. Cody Hagan has both of them. One was against Portland State. What makes, in your opinion, that play work so well, other than it just being a trick play? Because I think a trick play, it's high risk, high reward. It's not necessarily going to pay off every time. We're 2 for 2.
It all starts with, you got to have an offensive line that's not giving the other team penetration.
Yeah.
Because he's back there just dancing and faking for a while. Mm-hmm. And if a team gets penetration, it's over. So it starts with an offensive line that, again, there's so many people we could shout out. Another one, the O-line gave up 0 sacks. Mm-hmm. We ran the ball well, and we're able to do plays like that because they do not give up penetration. But then secondly is, there's just so many threats that we could do. And you watch their poor defense, and they're going one way, then they're going the other, then they're going the other, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's fun to watch.
They're doing a dance. I love the camera angle from behind, where the defense literally shifts to the left and then shifts to the right and then shifts to the left again. And by then the offensive line has already established their position. Carson Ryan's already 10 yards downfield blocking a guy. I think that play works so well because of all the misdirection, right? So there's literally like 3 different misdirections in that play. There's you got Parker Kingston motioning to the right. Right, so the offense thinks maybe this is going to go to the right. That's kind of your first misdirection, and it happens pre-snap. Then he stops on a dime, goes behind Bear. Bear fakes the handoff to him. By the way, that fake works because Bear's turning his back to the defense. The defense has no idea if that ball is going to Parker or not, and sometimes it has. Right, it's not like they haven't run this play and not handed it off to Parker. They have. But they fake that, right? So the defense immediately goes to the left, right? After they've maybe shifted to the right after Parker goes in motion, they're shifting back to the left. Then you fake it to LJ, who goes back right. The defense is shifting to the right. And I think, too, what makes that motion work is that Carson actually fakes, and I think some of the offensive line actually fakes blocking to the right. Carson actually runs a yard or two to his right and then stops on a dime, turns around, and blocks to his left. So the defense sees that offensive shift, and they think this is for sure going to LJ Martin. If it hasn't gone to Parker, it's going to LJ. No one's even looking at Cody Hagan coming from the other side of the field except for the guy covering Cody Hagan, and by then it's too late, right? So then you go to Cody, and by that point, again, you've got an offensive lineman and a tight end blocking downfield for a speedy receiver who we've seen outrun guys into the end zone. That's what makes that play work. And what I love about the tornado reverse is there are still more wrinkles to that.
Yeah.
So I actually look at these and I think, why are we wasting this play against Portland State? Like, why are we even using this against Portland State? Why are we wasting? And I wouldn't say it was a waste against Colorado. It led to the game-winning touchdown. But it's like, why are we revealing this kind of trick play? Because you really only can run the same trick play probably, 3-4 times in a season before teams key in on it. But again, there's so many actions before that reverse that defenses are still gonna have to account for those misdirections, fake handoffs, that they're still gonna be shifting. But also, I think it opens up a pass scenario. So you run Parker, let's say, and I don't know how good Cody Hagan can throw the ball. Obviously, his brother can.
He can probably
throw
it.
He can probably throw, yeah. But Parker, we know, can throw the ball. They've run trick plays where he throws the ball. He's a lefty. So you put Parker Kingston in that position where he's running the reverse. You've got Carson Ryan running downfield. Instead of blocking, Carson's running a route, right? So you've got this tornado reverse action, throw to Carson Ryan, or maybe a throwback to Bear Bachmeier, or a throwback to LJ Martin, who took the play action to that side of the field. You've got throw options out of that action. Yeah. And I'm curious to see if they run any, maybe against Utah. Maybe they run a trick play where it's a tornado reverse pass.
I love it. I love that play. And I actually am a fan of throwing stuff like out there early in the season, because it makes every team you play have to spend a lot of time in practice to try to be ready for one play. Yeah. And you have to. I mean, how do you watch it, especially now it's been successful twice, and you can watch it and see the different variations. The defensive coordinators and time in practice are having to spend mental and real energy on stopping it, and that gives us an advantage.
Yeah, and I think to wrap this all up in terms of looking at this game by the numbers, it shows how good of an offensive coordinator A-Rod is. And I don't understand. I get that he calls plays that fans don't like. I think some fans they complain about running the ball on first down. Like, they'll complain about everything. And it's like, there was one play, I think it was against ECU, where it was actually the touchdown pass to Carson Ryan, right? Where he's blocking. I think they run a fake action to the right, and he's acting like he's blocking, but then he releases and is wide open, right? There's nobody even covering him. And somebody posted a video of that play, and one of the comments was like, if only A-Rod could call this play more instead of the boring, handoffs on first down. And I responded, I said, this play doesn't happen without those first down runs. Correct. Right? Or whatever down. This play doesn't happen if BYU doesn't run the ball. They have to keep defenses honest. And yeah, they're going to get 1, 2, 3 yards of play in some cases. But in other cases, Bear Bachmeier's running 9, 10, 11 yards downfield on a QB draw. And so you have to take the bad with the good, and the bad usually sets up the good. And I think A-Rod does a really good job. I actually think A-Rod runs more trick plays probably than anyone else in the country, especially this year. We've seen it a ton. How many passes has Parker Kingston throw?
I know. He should throw less. He keeps throwing into double coverage.
I know. He actually had, by the way, it was the reverse, I think, in the first quarter, where he threw it a double covered, Was it Chase or was it LJ downfield?
LJ.
LJ downfield on a wheel route. He had Bear open.
Huh.
Bear was like I think he was kind of standing around because I think that play is designed to go to LJ. But
Yeah.
LJ obviously double covered. Colorado wasn't fooled by the play. Bear kind of he like stood around for a little bit. He actually went out to run a route when he realized Parker didn't have anyone to throw to, and he was open.
Huh.
He probably would have gotten 6-7 yards. It wouldn't have been a home run play, but he was open.
Yeah.
So he could have made something happen. But
no, BYU is not afraid to go for the home run. And what I want to say too on that is we've had two guys emerge as big offensive weapons that most people didn't see coming. Shout out to you. You were big on Ryan. I thought they brought him in as a blocking tight end, and he has emerged as a legit offensive threat.
Yes.
But Hagan too, that he is a playmaker. Like, we got to find ways to give him the ball more, where on his first rushing touchdown of the season, he just outran people. Against Colorado, that got him a lot of yards, but it looked like he was going to get tackled at the 15 or something. He was weaving and dodging and bouncing and keeping his balance, and I thought, man, this guy is good. We got to find more ways to get him the ball.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that he's getting. I don't know if I'm surprised, but I actually thought Tiger Bachmeier would be a little bit more of an influence in this offense and in special teams, especially when Parker went out because of that fumble he had. Tiger hasn't been super impressive, and I don't want to be super negative in this episode because such a great win. I thought the whole team played well. Probably the biggest disappointment would be Tiger, but it has led to guys like Cody Hagan stepping up and playing really well and making a name for themselves. Let's talk, because this is kind of the elephant in the room, and this might bring the episode down a little bit, but let's talk about the chants during the game. And it's not the F BYU chants that I care about, or the F Evan Johnson chants that we heard on social media. And the timing of that was perfect. We can talk about that real quick. The timing of that was perfect. For those that didn't see the video, there's video of the student section chanting "F.U. Johnson," and then it pans over to Evan Johnson. It was right before the play where he laid out I think it was the running back running a flat for a loss of 2. Laid him out, and the timing of it was perfect. So we're not talking about those chants because you've mentioned before the show. That happens everywhere, right? People say F this, F that. They're quote unquote harassing players, maybe even harassing cheerleaders. That's not okay, but it's also not uncommon and not specific to BYU. Fans chant that to in the NFL, college football, they're going to chant that to players, to members of the coaching staff, to cheerleaders across the country. It's when you bring religion into it and say F the Mormons that I think it becomes inappropriate. Now, are we offended, Tosh? Are you offended?
Me as an individual, I'm not offended. I think it's really stupid of them to do it, and I am like, if I was those schools, I would be trying to get that changed and reeled in. But as a person, as a member of the church, as a BYU alum and fan, I don't lose any sleep over it. But I'm still just think it's so stupid and ignorant and a double standard that they feel, and so many schools do, that feel like they can chant that as a student section or otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's just cheap. I'm not offended. I don't get offended by a lot of things necessarily. I can get heated over certain things, especially when it comes to sports. I'm pretty passionate. I don't get offended by things like that, but I do think it's just cheap.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the sport. It has nothing to do with the game itself. It's just a cheap shot. And, I think a lot of people have pointed this out. If you were to reverse the scenario and let's say we're playing Notre Dame, you can't say F the Catholics, right? That's completely inappropriate. Or with maybe Jake Retzloff last year, people saying F the Jews, that's just not appropriate. And you would never see that. And not only that, but the reaction to that would be way more intense, I think, than it was for this game.
And I'm also just kind of bothered and have a head scratching on it there's a lot of members of the church in all of these communities that are chanting it too. So there are fans that are there that are members of the church or that they live amongst these people, and it's just it's just a lowbrow, stupid thing to be chanting.
Yeah. And granted, this is probably coming from 20 or 30% or less of the fan base in attendance of that game. And most of them are probably students, and most of them are just, dumb
going for
18, 19, 20-year-olds. Yeah, they're just trying to troll. And I think we need to take it with kind of that mentality in mind that, like, these aren't and now they could be. I don't know. I didn't see anybody in the videos per se. You just hear it in this kind of large stadium. So some of them could be grown adults, 30, 40, 50-year-old dudes. But I'd imagine these are kind of just young, dumb college students. That's not to excuse them. But you're right. This has now come from, and I put this out. In fact, it was art director on Cougar Board who has kind of this running list of schools that have had to put out a statement or an apology. Arizona's done it. USC's done it twice. Oregon's done it. Providence did it after a basketball game. Stanford's now done it twice. And then you've got Utah State, I think, put out an apology for Brandon Davies' comments a while ago. San Diego State, obviously dressing up as missionaries and mocking the church. These are not all as inappropriate as F the Mormons, but these are still apologies that have been put out by schools. Gonzaga's done it, and now Colorado's added to that list. What do you notice about that list? What conference are these teams coming from?
There's a lot of Pac-12 in here.
Yep.
Yeah.
The inclusive, the all-inclusive Pac-12 conference.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any surprise that it's the same conference that just wouldn't let us in. I mean, I think that sadly, because we also live in the West, but a lot of these Western schools are the ones that hate the church the most, and so it's an odd dynamic.
Yeah. Now I won't go as far because I think there was some sentiment around, people kind of tying this, and obviously what happened on Sunday with the Michigan shooting and fire at the church building. I wouldn't go as far as to tie those together. I think that's probably a little extreme and unfair. But the sentiment of hate towards a religion, it needs to stop.
Yes.
And again, I'm not offended personally by it. But I think hate towards any group, and I would even include hate towards Utah fans, right? Like, I think BYU fans feel this kind of animosity and hate. It has to be kept at a level that is at least appropriate. And you can be appropriate in a rivalry and still, quote unquote, hate them from a perspective of, like, I hate their fan base because they've beaten us, 10 of 11 or whatever when they had won 10 in a row or 11 in a row. Like, I hate that, right? I'm jealous of that. And we can say this from like a sports perspective, but as soon as you bring religion, as soon as you bring in like personal beliefs, it's just not appropriate. And the question then is, like, should schools or should the Big 12 or the NCAA actually do more than release a statement or release an apology?
So yes is my answer. And to me, again, how I would sum this up, I am not offended. I'm not losing any sleep over it. But if this was somebody that I felt like in a group I was a part of, if my family, if my son was ever chanting those sort of stuff directed at any religion, I would do everything I could to put a stop to that. And so that's where I feel like I am part of the Big 12. And so I think the Big 12 in just controlling, that should be no part of what the Big 12's about, whether it's directed at whatever church. And so, the Big 12 needs to step up and get that stopped.
Yeah. By the way, the statement from Colorado had 189 words. None of those words were an actual apology. And I think I don't know if that was just a slip up. They just didn't want to do that. But they put out this massive statement. None of it was an apology. And so that's worth noting. We don't have to talk a whole lot about it, but it's worth noting. Cougar alumni know what it means to rise and shout, and that's exactly what TrueWear Services helps your business do. They specialize in merch production, swag, uniforms, custom printing and design, plus web stores and fulfillment, so repping your company, team, or school is seamless. You've built the brand, now it's time to showcase it. Partner with TrueWear Services today and give your organization the same pride and polish you showed in Cougar Blue. Go to truewearservices.com/cougarboard to get started. This episode is brought to you by Aptiv. Aptiv believes that every home should be enjoyed. They tailor their pest control treatment plans to target pests when and where they're most active. Plus, if you see pest activity between treatments, Aptiv will return to take care of the problem at no additional cost. It's their way of making sure every customer is satisfied and every pest is controlled. If pests stay away, Aptiv is why. Visit AptivPestControl.com/loyalcougars or call 844-966-4787 and mention this promotion to get your initial treatment for just $29. That's AptivPestControl.com/loyalcougars or call 844-966-4787. Terms and conditions apply. Get home field advantage with Aptiv. Let's talk about West Virginia. This is a game where I think early on we thought, hey, it's Rich Rod. It's, he's got potential running backs coming in. Rich Rod has had a lot of success with West Virginia in the past. And so this West Virginia team might be tough. They've been riddled with injuries, right? At the quarterback position and the running back position, two massive positions for them. And those are positions that they needed to have any sort of success this year. And so by the numbers, they are one of the worst, if not probably second worst. Oklahoma State, I think, has the crown right now for the worst team in the conference. West Virginia is probably a close second to last. They're 15th in scoring offense in the Big 12. They're 14th in scoring defense. They do run the ball pretty well, or at least they have in the past, before their running back situation became a little bit more confusing and riddled with injuries. They were 4th in rushing. They still are today. 16th in passing offense. They don't throw the ball well. They do give up the third most sacks. The second most sacks. They are third in sacks. Their defense is third in sacks. They are 16th in third down conversions. They are 82nd in ESPN's FPI, 84th in is it Sagarin?
I think it's Sagarin.
Sagarin. Man, I read it a lot. I've never actually said it out loud, I don't think. So their wins this year came against Robert Morris and Pitt. That Pitt game was pretty impressive. I think it was that at Pitt or at West Virginia?
That's their win that should scare us.
That's their marquee win.
They beat a decent Pitt team.
Yeah, but they did also lose to Ohio. They lost to Kansas and they lost to Utah. They got blown out. They got smoked by Utah. Now, BYU comes in as a 19.5-point favorite. West Virginia's quarterback, Nico Marchiol, did not play against Utah. He's been hurt, right? And so is he a great quarterback? No, he's their starting quarterback. And so when he's out, they struggle. And they struggled against Utah because they did not have a quarterback that could do anything really with the ball. Jalen Henderson started against Utah, did nothing. I think it was like 3 of 7. He rushed the ball like 10 or 11, 12 times for 40-something yards or less. Maybe it's 20-something yards. Not great. He did terrible. They brought in Khalil Wilkins, who's a redshirt freshman. He did a little better. I think he was 3 of 6. He had a lot of rushing yards, and the offense started to move the ball when he came in. That said, they don't have a quarterback. So if Nico Marchiol does not play this game, which they haven't put out an injury report for, this passing game is really going to struggle.
Yeah.
And you look at the running game, and it's no better, right? So they lost Jaheim White against Ohio. He's out for the season. They've been very much running back by committee.
Their top running back, Ty Edwards, is hurt, but he has 141 yards on the season. He had it all in one game against Pitt. Mm-hmm. They don't have a running back that has more than 140 yards. Like, it's wild. They've used Hubbard. They've used Ash. They've used another guy named Sincere. Yeah, which is funny. 2 games in a row against teams that have Sincere.
This conference is super sincere.
And yeah, they are bad. So here's the thing that scares me about them is that their season, it needs to be kept alive with a win this week. Like, I feel like they are bad, but I feel like we are going to get their best shot, because if they lose this, the season's basically over. It feels to me, I had this feeling Oklahoma State coming in last year, where people thought they were going to be better preseason. They were already basically out, but I felt like they were just back against the wall, playing for pride. Let's make a big impact. And they took us to the wire. I'm a little worried if BYU doesn't get on them early. If BYU gets on them early, I think they crumble and it's like, here's another loss.
Yeah.
If BYU lets them hang around, we are going to have a team that's fighting for their season that I think could be scary.
I think they're a 19.5-point favorite. I don't think there's much West Virginia can do in this game to make it a close game. It's going to come down to does BYU implode for whatever reason? And I think at home you've got Bear Bachmeier, who has, I think that was probably the biggest concern coming into the season was, can Bear not be a deer in the headlights quarterback? And we obviously have seen in the last 4 games that he's not. And I think throughout, more progressively as we got through the season, he's become less and less of that. And so I'm not as concerned about that. LJ's healthy for now, obviously knock on wood there. Bear's still healthy. I think even if we had McKay Hillstead, I think BYU wins this game. It's nothing that West Virginia can do really to make this a game. It's going to all come down to what BYU can do. Even if Nico Marchiol is healthy, he's not a great quarterback. But let's assume he's not healthy. They don't have the quarterbacks to make this a game, and they don't have a deep enough running back room to do anything on the ground. And so I think BYU's defense, we're talking about West Virginia's offense. We haven't even talked about their defense. They're not great on defense, but we don't even need to talk about that because I don't think they score more than 10, 14 points in this game. And so BYU just needs to score a few touchdowns. Again, they're at home. Nothing about this game makes me incredibly concerned. Now, I said that about Colorado, right? I don't think we really anticipated how good Kaidon Salter would be, and he obviously turned out to be a pretty decent threat. And so, can Nico Marchiol come out and be a threat as well if he's healthy? We'll see, but I don't see it this year.
Yeah, so we're going to go here anyway. I'm not somebody that's worried about jinx, and I don't believe that's going to be a thing, but I might scare you with this. If I had to say the position groups that scare me where an injury could really put us in trouble, we have at least 2 of those that are glaring to me, right? One is at quarterback. Like, we don't know who we have behind, and I feel like our offense would have to be a lot different. And secondly, right now is LJ Martin, that with Sione Moa hurt, and we don't know when we're getting him back.
Sounds like it's a long time.
Correct. I think we'll be lucky if he plays again this season. That it does make, we need LJ to be healthy, and his history is not one of health. He hasn't had a season yet where he hasn't missed significant games, and that even in games, he seems to always be getting banged up, and that's where I think we should be just grateful for every win. And that's what scares me against West Virginia. I still have this unease as a fan. If either of those guys get hurt, we're a totally different team.
Yeah. And West Virginia is really going to be the last kind of, I don't want to say gimme game, but the last kind of ramp up game for this team, because then it gets difficult. Now, Arizona.
We should beat Arizona too.
Arizona. They should beat Arizona, but they're on the road.
Yeah.
Right. And we saw how BYU played against Colorado on the road. Colorado's, I think, worse than Arizona as a team. So,
and then it goes Utah, Iowa State, Texas Tech, TCU, and it's like, holy smokes.
The gauntlet. And it's funny, like, we looked at this, I think going into this year, BYU had the easiest, if not one of the easiest schedules in the conference. It's still easy other than this donut in the middle of the season, which is, if they can go 2-2 in that stretch, and we'll talk about it obviously when we get closer to that 4-game stretch. If they can get through that stretch 2-2 or 3-1, they are golden, right? I think they are in the driver's seat to at least make it to a conference championship game. We're so early that it's hard to even talk about that scenario, obviously, especially with what happened last year. But this schedule seems to be lining up a little bit more difficult than it seems to be shaping out to be a little more difficult than we thought early season. And TCU is a big part of that. Texas Tech, obviously, they were kind of a dark horse, and now we know that they're probably best, if not second best team in the conference. Arizona State's not as good as we thought they were, and we thought, we're avoiding Arizona State this year. It's like they're not as good as we originally anticipated. So you've got arguably 3 of the top 4 teams in the conference within this 4-game stretch, and probably 4 of the top 5 when you add TCU. BYU is obviously in that mix, but you got Texas Tech number 1, Iowa State number 2, in my opinion. BYU/Utah is 3, and then the other one is 4, and then TCU's 5.
Absolutely, Jake. A team should focus 1 week at a time.
I don't care.
Fans in a podcast, we're not held to that.
I was going to say, I don't care.
Here, throwing something at you that It gets me excited and should get you. Let's get our hopes up. It's more fun living that way. ESPN's FPI right now gives BYU a 36% chance of making the college football playoffs this season.
Wow. Where does that rank? Do you have a ranking on that?
I don't. We should find that. It only has us have a 25% chance of winning the Big 12 conference.
Interesting.
So it's saying, from looking at things, that 2 teams should make it, and that BYU has a 36% chance of being one of those 2 teams.
Sure. I mean, I can see that now with the extended field. I could see that happening. Again, it's so early. I don't want to talk about it yet, but sure.
I threw it out there anyway.
Sure. And we can do that as fans. I don't believe in jinxing either, but that's a huge if. Let's get through West Virginia first. Let's get through Arizona, and then let's get through this 4-game gauntlet of a stretch.
It has. I did look up a little more to your question. It has us ranked as the 18th best team, but where we're at with our schedule and with the conference we're in, it has us a 36% chance of making a 12-team playoff.
There you go. Hopefully that percentage goes up after we beat West Virginia, after we beat Arizona, and then we'll see what happens. That'll do it for us today. This is the Loyal Cougars podcast. I'm your host, Jake Edmonds. That's Tosh McIntosh. We'll see you next week.